I'm Vijay Advani, the CEO of Nuveen, a TIA company. We are a $1 trillion global asset manager with investment teams and clients located in all major financial centers around the world. Today, I'm honored to present Adena Friedman, the CEO of Nasdaq, with the 2019 USIBC Global Leadership Award on behalf of the board of the USIBC. India has a long, rich history of stock market innovation, and this award is fitting tribute to an individual whose firm partnered with the National Stock Exchange of India to help advance one of the fastest growing markets in the world. Asia's first stock market exchange traces back its roots to 1855 in India, when traders would gather around a banyan tree outside of Mumbai's town hall. Sometimes it feels things haven't changed. Today, NSE is India's largest market, with listed companies totaling about $2 trillion in market cap. Nasdaq has been a leader in technology-driven world of finance that has not only transformed itself, but the financial markets around the world. Adena has been at the forefront of that effort for many years. Adena joined Nasdaq in 1993, and except for a short stint between 2011 and 14, where she was the CFO of Carlyle, she has had a long-standing career at Nasdaq. Adena is driven by a need to understand and develop the strengths of the resources of what's in front of her. She has an uncanny ability to see possibilities for the future and that others cannot, and then the strategic vision to accomplish them. Adena recognized the potential that India offered, not only Nasdaq as it continued to expand its services, but also the global financial markets as a whole. Nasdaq's Technology Center reflects Adena's vision of a technology-driven future for global finance made possible with India's ever-expanding capabilities and technology. It will be an exciting journey to watch unfold as Nasdaq and India together transform the global markets. The partnership between the National Stock Exchange and Nasdaq will help propel that forward. It promises to give investors more confidence in regional and local exchanges and build India's economic growth story. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to present to Adena the USIBC Global Leadership Award. Adena, you're a true leader, a true mentor, and an absolute inspiration for investors and creative thinkers, and of course, to the incredible untapped potential of the US-India relationship. Ladies and gentlemen, please recognize Adena Friedman.
Thank you, Vijay. Thank you. It is such a pleasure to be here, and it's truly an honor because of the partnership that we have been developing with the National Stock Exchange of India is one of the most strategic partnerships we've developed across our technology business globally. And it's one where this National Stock Exchange has done an amazing job of developing the capital markets in India. They're one of the highest volume exchanges in the world, and they have done such a wonderful job of developing the entire ecosystem that serves hundreds of millions of investors and thousands of broker-dealers in India. They also are really working hard to make sure that they're using their strengths to continue to build and grow the economy by connecting ideas with capital across India and allowing investors all over India to get engaged in the growth of that economy. So we're so pleased, and our partnership, my partnership with Vikram, the CEO of NSE, is so important to us because not only are we helping them take their technology into the next gen, but they're also helping us develop out our technology capabilities in terms of as a technology development partner as we go and deploy that technology in other parts of the world. So they really are a critical partner to us. And I also want to say that Nasdaq has a very important technology center in India as well, in Bangalore, and that's an area of growth for us as well. So we'll have a chance to talk about that. But I just want to thank all of you for having me here today and for recognizing the work that Nasdaq is doing with the National Stock Exchange of India. So thank you.
It does, yes.
I thought your comments were great. They ate up 3 of my questions.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about them.
That's right. One other thing, commercial for a minute. You have a very rich background, which is a great benefit to the Chamber of Commerce of the United States, on whose board you sit. And you're bringing some of the same talent and drive and thought to it, and I want to say thank you.
Thank you.
You know, every time people talk about the Nasdaq, you'd think they'd be talking about money. But when they're talking about you and they're talking about what you're doing, not only here in the United States, but all around the world, they're talking about your drive is to be, as you said, a technology-forward company. So what are the specific kinds of changes that are making you such an attraction to people, not only in India, but around the world? And while you're talking about it, take the next question, and what's next?
Sure. Well, Nasdaq we've been very fortunate because our roots as a disruptor in the United States, we were the first technology-driven market in the US, and we've been able to take those roots forward for 48 years now and really drive change in the US capital markets with technology. And we also were able to really grow extensively right after the internet era in 1993, all the way through, of course, the internet boom and bust. But beyond that, we have been on the forefront of leveraging technology to drive the capital markets forward here. And over the last couple of decades, we've then developed that capability to provide technology to other markets around the world. And most notably today, we provide the technology that powers 110 markets around the world. It could be stock exchanges, futures exchanges, non-financial markets in terms of there's some really innovative markets that are developing around the world around reinsurance or sports markets and other things that are coming forward. And our technology is relevant as anyone looks for price transparency and looks for a way to involve more of the people into the economy. We're there to help support that with advanced technology. Now, the National Stock Exchange of India has done a spectacular job with its own technology, and they've done a great job of developing the capital markets in India for many, many years. But what they've realized, and what I think a lot of other exchanges realize, is that the pace of change is so dramatic, and the pace of technology change is really driving the capital markets forward. And if you're only developing that technology for your own market, it's going to be hard to keep up. But if you're able to partner with someone who provides it to a lot of other exchanges, you'll always stay in the forefront. You'll always stay ahead of what's coming in the capital markets. And so our job as a partner to the National Stock Exchange of India or to the other markets is to make sure we stay ahead of the technology trends so we can make sure that the capital markets also stay ahead of those technology trends. And we're very proud of what we do today.
Well, you should be. You know, there are a lot of people that are afraid of the speed of what's going on in the markets, faster than people can think and faster than people can follow. Why don't you take a minute and assure everybody that most of the time this works?
Well, first of all, I would say that the markets have always been, and I think will always be, a balance of humans and machines. Right. There are a lot of investment decisions, many investment decisions that are made in human time. But once they make that decision, they want to be able to execute them in machine time. And our job is to make it so that they have the intelligence and the transparency and all the information they need to make a smart investment decision that they can then get executed as efficiently and frictionlessly as possible. So therefore, we have built our technology to be able to support highly scalable markets that require very, very low latency, like our own. In Switzerland, in India, and others, that's where low latency is very critical. But then also markets that are really more just facilitating the transfer of ownership of more complex instruments, and our technology can do that as well. I just would say it is meant to be that great balance that drives those markets forward. And if you think about a country as large as India, you want to be able to get hundreds and hundreds of millions of people to be able to have instant access to information that allows them to make a smart investment decision that they can then instantaneously execute through their phone, through their Android phone. To tie everyone together. And they can then know that they have the ability to participate in the economy. And they have a chance to take some of their hard-earned savings and be a part of the growth of the country. And that's what National Stock Exchange of India facilitates. And with our technology, we hope that they'll be able to continue to do that very successfully for the next 20 years, as well as they've done for the last 20 years.
Now, this makes a lot of sense when you explain it. What does it do with all those people you're going to get in India? And by the way, I think India is your springboard to lots of other places. You can say something about that. But what kind of investors does it encourage? Long-term investors? Short-term investors? What are you seeing as you move further around the world in that regard?
Well, I still think if you look at the U.S. markets, we have the most variety of investors than anywhere on the world. So the whole point of the markets is to allow lots of different strategies to coexist in a central place. Whether you are looking at things on a daily basis or you're thinking about things for the next decade and you want to invest in trends that'll take place over many years, you should have a place to come where that buying and selling interest can come together and get instantaneously executed. And that's the job of the market, is to facilitate all those strategies to coexist. But if you're a company and you're a public company, you're really looking for those long-term investors, because most companies are really driving towards a long-term strategy, and they want those investors who are there to walk them through that strategy, to help make sure that they can execute on that strategy of growth. And so having both those who are ready to trade in the instant, those who are looking to trade over a period of days or weeks, and those people who are ready to trade over years, that's what makes for a vibrant market. And that's what I think that the U.S. has done remarkably successfully, and you're seeing more of that travel around the world. One of the benefits that we hear is because of the fact that countries are deploying our technology into their markets, it allows for, it's much easier for foreign investment to come into those countries. So if you look at some of the markets that we've developed in many of the developing markets, they've had a significant increase in foreign investment on the back of better technology and a more uniform technology that drives the markets, so that they feel more confident being able to execute their strategies. So that's something that's really important. But companies should be focusing on the long term, and they should be getting involved in their communities, and they should be making sure that as they are developing their company strategy, that they are also thinking about how that impacts and how they can help develop the community strategy as well.
You know, a lot of the conversations we've been having over recent time is why not more public companies in the United States, never mind where you're moving around the world. And of course, we have a lot of things we're trying to do to encourage that, and we're working hard to take away the impediments to that. But I'd be great if you'd say a few words about that.
Well, I actually think that's also a similar challenge in India. There are thousands of companies who are public in India, but there are a lot of companies today that are private. They're having the same influx of private capital as U.S. companies are having. And so that idea of taking that step into the public markets is as much of a decision in India as it is in the United States today, frankly. I think that what we can focus on in our own markets, and I know Vikram's very focused on this with his own regulator, is making sure that we're breaking down those impediments to being a public company. If you are in the private markets, it's a wonderful place to access early capital, but it keeps that capital and all of that growth investment in the hands of very few people. If you can bring your company to the public markets, it makes your company accessible to everyone and to hundreds of millions of people, and allows them also to enjoy and invest in your growth. So the public markets are really a critical component of having a healthy economy and having an economy where that opportunity is spread. So we talk a lot about that in Washington, and I know Vikram's spending a lot of time talking about that in his own government because of the fact that you want to make these companies accessible. So what do we try to do? Just make it so that the regulatory overlay of being a public company is less onerous, and we do really thank the Chamber for really helping us on some key issues there, particularly around proxy reform and other areas of regulatory impediments. We also focus on encouraging long-term investment and encouraging long-term thinking and allowing companies to think about the next decade and how their products and how their services are going to impact the society and the economy over the next decade, and making it so investors have that orientation. And then also just making sure that they have a great trading experience so their cost of capital is low and they can use the public markets to increase and grow their businesses.
I could go on for a half hour on that with you, but you wanted to say something about Bangalore. I've been there, and I've seen a lot of things that are going on with other companies driving their technology growth there. But tell us about what you've got going there.
Sure. Well, we made a decision about, I guess, 7 years ago, or a little more than that, to establish and grow a presence in India for our development capabilities. And so we established a tech center in Bangalore, and it's one of the faster growing offices we have around the world because we have access to amazing technology talent, and we've been able to establish our presence in specific products that we have developed over the last several years. So one of the things that the technology team in India did was build from scratch our IR intelligence tool that we offer to thousands of companies around the world. It's a global product. It's not specifically for listed companies. It can be used anywhere. And that team built it from the ground up all the way to now, which it's the #1 product in the market. We also have built out our technology team to support our governance solutions for our corporates, as well as some of our market technology solutions. And it's a wonderful place. We have a wonderful leader there, frankly, who does such a great job of building this great culture inside that office.
Don't tell everybody.
I know, that's true. He's awesome.
That's great.
He's very loyal to Nasdaq. So we're really thrilled that we've had the opportunity to find such great talent in a market where we can continue to grow.
Well, we've got a few more minutes, and you know that you've got all this technology, you've got all these excited investors, you've got all this opportunity to create wealth. How do you help people on the soft side of this? May not be you and your partners should stick to the technology, but you know they got to have the soft side of what kind of businesses do I want to invest in? What are other people investing in? Why does the market go up and down? What's the educational process? I suspect in some places in India it starts very young, but what do you see as it's almost a responsibility as you're creating these unbelievable markets to give people the knowledge they need to use them effectively?
Yeah, it's a great question. So one of the things I'm always impressed with as I go around the world and meet exchanges around the world that use our technology is they often couple their technology development with an educational campaign to get more small investors involved in the markets. Now, we have the benefit of partnering with companies like Ameritrade, where they do a ton of programming with us around educational programming around options or around equities, around investing in this, looking at making sure they understand what data they should use to make smart investment decisions. And Ameritrade has done a fantastic job, as have a lot of their peers, in terms of developing out very comprehensive educational campaigns. But in other countries, it's the market that really serves that role only because they don't have the benefit of such a great ecosystem that we have in the United States. And then in the US, what we focus on is actually really helping entrepreneurs understand how to run a business. And there are so many amazing people out in our country and everywhere that have great ideas, but turning those ideas into businesses and dealing with the blocking and tackling of running those businesses it's not a natural talent. So we've launched through our foundation the Entrepreneur Center, where we've brought in anyone can be a member. It's free to be a member, and you can come in and get access to great educational programming on how to grow a business. And we're really proud of what we've done there.
This is a great story. We should keep going here, but we got a few more minutes. It's very, very interesting that not very long ago, if you told people that the Dow would go up to 25,000 or something, they'd laugh you out of the room. And so when it gets up there, small cuts in the market, in your market as well, are significant numbers. And yet the percentage on up and down is what years ago were a few dollars. How does all of this attract people or detract people from being in the market? And what do we do now to educate people that are out on the networks and other places opining on this with passionate breadth, and when it's really a small move?
Yeah. Well, I think that the media likes to, they want to try to get people to watch their programs, so they talk about it a lot. But
it's called advertising money.
But I think from our perspective, I would say that the one thing I always say is that intraday volatility, you can watch some, I would say, opportunities evolve during the day where the fundamentals of a company aren't necessarily reflected in the stock market price intraday. But we also, if you watch, also note that over the period of days, that tends to calibrate itself. Because what happens is intraday, you've got very quick thinking, short-term oriented thinking, and I would say a lot of machine-driven thinking that's happening in the markets. But once the humans get engaged and they have a chance to absorb whatever news is coming out and whatever is impacting the markets, you watch that calibration start to impact and come in as the human decisions get filtered into those markets on the back of news or events that are happening. So it's really a matter of making sure you don't look at a single day and assume anything. You really have to look at things over time. You have to look at trends over time. And you have to have your own sense of, is the economy on the right track? And as you've seen what happened in the fourth quarter, I think people recognized as they were dealing with a lot of news, but they were then coming back to themselves and saying, but the economy is on the right track. When I talk to CEOs, they're saying business is booming, demand hasn't changed. And so I kind of knew from those conversations that things would recalibrate, because it just felt like the underpinnings and the fundamentals would come back into calibration, and that's what happened in the first quarter.
We're all worried around the world, in India here, about what's going on in cyber. We're worried about our privacy. We're worried about our electrical systems. We're worried about our healthcare systems. The majority of us are worried for the lack of knowledge. Of course, institutions like yours and ours have the benefit of the smartest people in the world. Tell us how you have organized your thinking and your business to feel more comfortable about those challenges than you would have years ago.
Well, I think the first thing is, the good news about cyber is no one sees that as a competitive advantage, meaning we all work very hard together to make sure we're protecting ourselves. And so the level of communication within the business community, I think, has gotten much better. And it's hard because on the one hand, you see things that you want to make sure you're protecting yourself and then share, but at the same time, that sharing is important. So there is a lot more communication today than I think there was before. The second is that we do get to rely on great companies, frankly, like Google and Amazon and Microsoft in the cloud, where they've developed very advanced technology in the infrastructure space. And we've moved more and more of not our markets themselves, but a lot of our products into the cloud, where we get the benefit of enhanced security. And then the third thing is we do get the benefit of attracting great talent. And that talent, and there are so many products that we can then leverage with our talent to make sure we're constantly vigilant and focused on cyber. But it's a risk to everyone. And so I think that shared risk means there's a huge market for IT security products and capabilities that list on Nasdaq, and that, but that also we get to integrate into our infrastructure. We have the benefit of using the cloud and the advanced technology that's available there. And then I do think that information sharing is getting better with every year.
Okay, now I've got the last question, is the hardest question. And that is, I'm going to give you a minute or 2 minutes to have a free flow with the audience.
Oh, good. Okay, well, I do think that one thing that we all are grappling with as a business community is the role that we play in the economy and the role that we play in society. And I think it's becoming more and more of a global consideration. So you see a lot of what they call ESG and the environment, social, and governance practices, and the level of discipline that you're starting to really see develop in Europe. It's definitely coming to the US, and that orientation from investors around making sure that you can do well financially while you do good for your society is something that I do feel like is getting more attention. But it's also something that it would be, I think it's an important element of the corporate responsibility today to make sure we're serving our shareholders by serving our communities and making sure that we think about our role in society. And it's something that Tom talks a lot actually in our board meetings and in private meetings as to how we can make sure that we're taking our place in society and in the economy and taking it and making sure that we have a societal benefit that we draw from. Nasdaq has been focused on entrepreneurship. We've also been focused on developing out our, doing a lot more for our communities than we've done in the past. But I think every company now has a great opportunity because investors are actually looking for that. And they're looking for companies to take that responsibility. So we see it as actually a very good development to see that more alignment of investors and companies to say, what can we do for our society as well as what can we do for our economy?
We're really glad you came. You richly deserve that award, and you did a hell of a job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you.